that would be great. Which I can go through probably and mute you too. Okay, good. Thank you so much. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us, hopping on a call this spring, beautiful spring day, at least here in St. Louis, Missouri, where I am. And so I just want to start out by telling you that we are just really excited to share tonight's presentation. We're going to do about a 15-20-minute presentation, and then Rebecca and Mary and maybe myself will share a little bit about our stories being a part of this healthy living revolution, which really, what is a healthy living revolution? It's a group of people that are excited about taking healthy back in ways that are simple and doable and fun. And so where I want to start is kind of where we're at. I want to talk to you tonight about two startling trends in our world right now. And the first is that our environmental toxins are increasing. So whether it is the food that you're eating, the makeup that you're putting on your face, the lotion you're putting on your body, the very air that you're breathing, think about allergies and asthma that are at a record all-time high, might be the water that you're drinking. Either or all of these, this makes our toxic load today greater than any toxic load that humans have carried at any time in history. So you take a look at this picture, we've got industrial, landfill, residential, runoff, you name it, we're dealing with it. So we've got environmental toxins increasing. At the very same time, however, our food quality is decreasing. And I did list food as being one of those environmental toxins. Unfortunately, where food is supposed to be our ally, it has actually become not so much that anymore. So I love this gentleman. He's in the middle of the grocery store. He's looking at food, or is it? It's probably more like a food-like product, because it's going to have all of these things or some of these things in it: preservatives, flavor enhancers, emulsifiers, artificial colors. Now we're dealing with genetically modified food. He's apparently confused, and really so would I be if I'm trying to shop there and think, is this really food? I know when I began my nutrition journey about 15 years ago, one of the switches that I made was not really shopping the center of the store anymore, but trying to shop the perimeter. And somebody said, you know what? If your grandmother wouldn't have been able to buy it in the store or wouldn't have known what it is, then don't purchase it. It's actually probably not food. And that was just a great, just a reminder and a rule for me to follow. The next switch I remember making was looking at the ingredient label rather than the nutrition label. That's what I was focused on. When I was a girl growing up in the 80s, we were kind of part of the low fat fad. Snackwells were introduced. I don't know if anybody on the call remembers those in the green package, but they were low fat, so that meant they were good for you. But if we would read the ingredient list of the Snackwell cookies, there would have been 30 some ingredients, and most of them I wouldn't have been able to pronounce. So I started switching to looking for labels, nutrition labels that had 5 ingredients or less, and all of which I could pronounce. And that's really where we want to go. We want to go more towards whole food because food quality other than that is decreasing. Okay, we're going to move on to kind of medical, what's going on in the medical world right now. Because of the first two things we talked about, David Katz tells us and that this may be the first generation of children to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents. David Katz is the head of head of prevention, at Yale University. He's a brilliant doctor and really at the head of the movement for more healthy living and awareness. He really promotes a plant-based diet mostly, but just really has been sharing this mantra for years, and it's finally getting some steam. I want to take a minute though, and just this is sad but true. I mean, if you take a look at the statistics that are listed here, this is what's going on. We have children with diabetes, we have children with hardening of arteries. These are things that when I grew up, this is what older people got, not younger people. And I want to look back just a generation. I think about my mother, who is 70, almost 72 years old. When she was my age, in her 40s, she didn't know one person who was dying of cancer. She did not know the term autoimmune disease. She wouldn't have known about diabetes, certainly not at that age. Just a generation later, I'm in a completely different place. Now I'm concerned about my children, or at 25% of kids are on prescription drugs. I mean, this has happened very, very quickly, and this should get our attention and is a bit alarming. So this is with children. If we flip to Dr. Bill Sears, who is one of America's great doctors, he's written over 40 books. He says, as adults, we're not really doing all that much better. 1 in 3 live with some sort of cardiovascular disease. 1 in 3 women will have cancer. 1 in 2 men. We've got diabetes, obese, and we're spending $3 trillion on our national healthcare system. To put that in perspective, if our healthcare system had a GDP, a gross domestic product, it would be the 6th largest economy in the world. Okay, so it's not for not trying. We get that we're not healthy, and we are spending equal to the 6th largest economy in the world trying to get better. But I don't know about you, it doesn't seem to be working. But the reason we're on the call tonight is because of this last statement, and that is that 75% of all chronic disease is preventable. And that, my friends, is great news. That's why I'm here. That's why Rebecca and Mary are here, because we can do something about it. We don't have to wait and hope that things turn out all right for us. We actually can do something about it. All right, so we're going to turn a little bit sciencey here with some terms that you may or may not be familiar with. The first one is oxidative stress. I grew up kind of hearing about oxidative stress, really didn't understand what it was, but it's linked to poor health. So what exactly is it? Simply put, oxidative stress is the aging of our bodies, both internal and external. And a great way to look at that tangibly is this apple that you see in front of you. So you cut open an apple and immediately what starts happening, right? It starts browning. Now, when I was a girl and we were going to my grandma's house and we were supposed to be taking the fruit salad, she would always say, okay, after we chop everything up, let's put some lemon juice on that. Now, why would we put lemon juice on the fruit salad? I didn't know, I just did it because that's what my mom told me to do. But now learning about what fruits and vegetables do for us, it worked to stop the browning because that lemon is an antioxidant. That lemon juice is an antioxidant. So it stops the browning of the apple. The same thing happens in our bodies when we flood our bodies with antioxidants, okay? Now, oxidative stress is happening all the time to us for good reasons or bad reasons. I have 8 children. I've been pregnant 8 times. I had a lot of oxidative stress in my body when I'm pregnant. That's a good reason for oxidative stress. Exercising gives us oxidative stress, causes oxidative stress on our bodies. We might not think that. We might think we're out running and doing a great thing. And yes, that's great for our lungs and heart and muscles. But if we're not giving ourselves antioxidants, then we're actually aging our bodies. Smoking, drinking, those are maybe some of the negative things that cause oxidative stress. But the reality is just by living, we have it. But the great thing is that our Creator gave us something to help us to negate that, and that is what? That are fruits and vegetables. I hope we all know that that is really the only place that we get antioxidants. But today's produce is mass produced, and it's packing a much less nutritional punch. When I was a girl, the government told us 5 a day. That's what we needed. Well, today it's 7 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables. And if you are pregnant or sick or exercising, it really is more like 16 to 20 servings of fruits and vegetables. When I say a serving, I mean a fist-sized piece of fruit or vegetables. 7 to 13, 16 to 20. But our varieties are losing their nutrition. So this screen kind of says it all. In 1953, a bowl of spinach was equal to, in 1997, what 53 bowls of spinach are equal to. And that is just iron, right? Spinach has a ton more in it than just iron, obviously. So we are definitely looking at a dilemma. And part of the reason for the decrease in nutrition is our soil depletion, So soil depletion is a whole nother topic, which I don't have time to go into, but it is a real thing. And our soil has been so depleted because of the way that we're growing our fruits and vegetables. We haven't been committed to resting the soil and amending the soil. And so we're turning out anemic fruits and vegetables. The other part of it being depleted is something that you may or may not know about, and I really just learned about recently, and that is that we are no longer eating vine ripened fruits and vegetables. And you just and are going to hear me say a lot of things, but this, if there's something I want you to take away, it's this. That is a big deal. And why it's a big deal is because in the last 24 to 48 hours, that is when 90% of the nutrition of that fruit and vegetable come rushing into it from the plant. Before that, that plant hasn't given all the nutrition. There's a reason why you're not supposed to eat fruits and vegetables that aren't ripe. And just because they ripen on your counter doesn't mean they have more nutrition. They may be ripe, but that doesn't mean they're more nutritious, okay? And that's why this is true. The bowl of spinach in 1853 is so much more for is containing so much more for us than it does in 1997, because back then we weren't mass producing things. We weren't shipping it from overseas. We were growing it in gardens and getting it to the people very quickly. So that's really, really key. In the 1950s, I'm sure all of you have heard about multivitamins. Back in the 1950s, the government figured out that they could isolate vitamins, and they decided to see what they could do about that. They isolated them, they created them synthetically in a lab. They came up with what they thought were 12 to 15 essential vitamins and minerals. And this is what normally is in your cereal. Your cereal's fortified with 12 essential vitamins and minerals. We've all heard about that. However, it's like Galileo, right, with the stars. When he first started looking, he thought there were 300. Well, we thought there were 12 to 15 vitamins and minerals. Come to find out, one apple has over 10,000 phytonutrients in it, just one apple. So when we are taking 12 to 15 and thinking they're essential, the reality is they don't work apart very well from all the others that are in the whole food. A great example of this is lycopene. You may have heard recently that lycopene was shown to fight cancer, and everybody was really excited about that. But what they found is when they isolated the lycopene and they took it out of the plant, took it out of the tomato and put it in a petri dish, it did absolutely nothing to stop cancer. Inside of the tomato, absolutely. It is prohibitive to cancer cells. So by all means, eat tomatoes, but lycopene on its own doesn't do anything. And really, it's the same thing with all other vitamins and minerals. Our body doesn't know what to do with them. They don't run on them. God didn't give us vitamin trees to eat. He gave us whole food. And when we eat whole food, our body knows synergistically how to handle that. So more matters. More fruits and vegetables matter, 7 to 13 per day. But how do we do that? How do we, in our fast-paced lives, have time to buy it every week, eat it every week, prepare it every week, and really eat it? I mean, I said eat it, but like it takes a long time to eat vegetables and chew them and all of that. So enter Juice Plus. And our tagline is to make one simple change. So just look at this beautiful array of fruits, vegetables, and berries, all in their whole food form that come easily packaged in capsules. And I want to tell you a little bit about how Juice Plus got started. 25 years ago, there was a holistic doctor who was helping cancer patients to get better by juicing. And his own father got sick with lymphoma, and he was given 3 weeks to live. Dr. Smokey grabbed him from the hospital, literally carried him out of the hospital, took him back to Arizona where he lived, and he started juicing and trying to get his dad, whose dad couldn't even eat at that point. I mean, he really was just so weak, but he started juicing and he wasn't seeing the results he wanted. So he thought, I wonder if I could make this more powerful. So he took the pits and the peels and the seeds and the rinds, the stuff that we don't normally eat, and he put it all in a giant mixer, like a Vitamix, and he got a big giant slurry. His dad could not drink all of that. So what he did was put it on cookie sheets all around his office and blew fans on it until he dehydrated it. And when what he was left with was the plant powders, the essence of the plant. Powdered produce is what we call it. And you literally are holding pounds of produce in your hand when you hold Juice Plus. Because when you take away all of the water, 95% of vegetables and fruits are water. So you're left with just the essence of the plant. And that is what Juice Plus is. So our product is unique in several ways. You could go to GNC, you can go to Target, you can go to all those places, and they're going to be lined with supplements. I'm sure you've heard about supplements. Just what I said in the beginning. We've been taking vitamins for 50 years, but nobody's getting healthier. It has not been our magic pill. What is unique about Juice Plus is this. The first thing, it is whole food. So if you would turn your supplement bottles around, you're going to see on the back a supplement label. So after this call, I want you to go check all your supplements in your cupboard if you have any and take a look on the back. It will say supplement. It's not regulated by the FDA and it's not food. Juice Plus is food. It's going to have the same label that a bag of carrots will have in your refrigerator, a nutrition label. And if it was sold in a grocery store, that's where it would be. It would be in the produce section, because that's what it is, just food. It's all those phytonutrients that are in the apple and the orange. For instance, 80% of the vitamin C is in the peel of an orange. We don't eat the peel, but if you eat Juice Plus, you do eat the peel of an orange, and you eat the rind of a pineapple, and you eat the greens of the beet. So you're getting it all with the Juice Plus capsules. They're non-GMO, they're dairy-free, they're gluten-free. The second thing that makes us extremely unique in this market is our NSF certification. So an NSF certification is so rare to have. It's expensive and hard to come by. What it says is that we are testing for every single kind of toxin, glyphosate included. Glyphosate is what Roundup is made up and is getting a lot of publicity, negative publicity in the news. It says that everything we say is in there, and what you don't want is not. Less than 1% of all vitamin supplements have this certification. So you, without that, have no proof, unless the company's run by your dad, you have no proof what these companies are doing is what they say they're doing is what they're doing. And with Juice Plus, I have that peace of mind. So that's our second thing that makes us different. And then our third, which I absolutely love because I'm just a nerd. I love to read, I love to research, and I've done that for the last 15 years, is our clinical research. We have over 35 published studies, actually soon to be 40 published studies in medical journals around the world. Top universities such as Georgetown University, Brigham Young, MD Cancer Center. I mean, these are just wonderful, wonderful universities that have published research on Juice Plus. And it is the most researched nutritional product in the world. There's just nothing that can come close. And so that would be something else I would share, is that nothing else in my cupboards before I discovered Juice Plus had any research on it. I just kind of was trusting whatever the Amazon review told me. I'm like, okay, it's working for him, I'll try it. One particular study that I really like is in the Journal of American Cardiology. This was a brainchild of some cardiologists at the University of Maryland who knew that heart disease and heart attacks most often happen 4 to 6 hours after a high-fat meal. So they took a group of people and they wanted to measure their brachial arterial constriction after a high-fat meal and just see what happened before and after taking Juice Plus. So they all went to McDonald's, they had a high-fat breakfast, and they measured their constriction. These are the three groups, the placebo group, and well, you'll just see all three of them had constriction of around 40 to 50%. They sent them home with a bottle of Juice Plus and nothing else. And for 28 days, we had a placebo group who did nothing. Well, they took something, they didn't, but it was nothing. And then we had a group that was on our fruits and our veggies, and then another group that was on our fruits, veggies, and berries. They didn't do exercise, they didn't change how they're eating, they just took Juice Plus. They brought them back 28 days later. And ladies, this is incredible, because 28 days later, the placebo group had the same amount of constriction, which isn't a big surprise, they didn't change anything. The group on our fruits and our veggies had 68% less constriction, which is awesome. And I would be jumping up and down about that, except that the people that were taking our orchard, our garden, and our vineyard had 98% less constriction, or basically no constriction at all, after just a month of flooding their bodies with real nutrition that their body knew what to do with. And so what this says to me is more of the good can outweigh all of the stuff coming at us. Now, my husband took that as, great, I can go eat a Big Mac and it won't hurt me. That was not what I was hoping he would get out of the study. We had to talk about that. So, and then we also have our complete shakes, which are awesome. We have one of these in our family once a day. We make them into pudding bowls or smoothies, but they are low glycemic, vegan and non-GMO. They're plant-based protein, and they really help heal your gut. And they also help move you. So if you struggle at all with irregularity, you will not after taking our shakes. I can attest to that in my own family. And then finally, our last product is our omegas, which I love because it's really about being sustainable. People have probably tried to bridge this gap with getting omegas because we know omegas are not something we make, right? Our body doesn't make omegas. We do have to get them from another source. Most people think about fish oil. However, fish do not make omegas, right? Fish get their omegas, as do all other animals, from plants. Plants are the only source of omegas. So Juice Plus decided to cut out the fish and be more sustainable because it actually takes 40 to 50 pounds of fish to make 1 ounce of oil, which is crazy. And we are overfishing our oceans, but that's a whole nother topic. So I love the fact that this is sustainable and it is not toxic because our fish are not involved. We've taken the algae and grow it ourselves along with sea buckthorn, pomegranate seed oil, raspberry seed oil, and tomato seed oil. So we have a wide spectrum, not just omega-3, but omega-3, 6, 5, 7, and 9. And I can tell you from adding the omegas personally, I've seen my joint issues disappear, which is incredible. I'm so grateful for these. And they're so pretty. They're bright orange. So I want to end with this. Dr. Richard DuBois says, there is nothing available anywhere else in the world with or without a prescription that has been clinically proven to do what Juice Plus does. Dr. Richard DuBois is head of infectious diseases in Atlanta. He was the first of what are now thousands of doctors that are recommending Juice Plus in their practices and to their patients. But I love what he says, and I have found it to be true. So at this point, I want to open this up to Rebecca, and I want to just go ahead and unmute yourself if you can, or I'll unmute you. Just did. And if you would like to share just quickly with us what and why you're excited about Juice Plus.
Yeah, sure. So thanks for all of that. I love hearing that. I always learn something new every time. So I've been on Juice Plus about 5-6 weeks, and I finally have stories to share. I'm so excited. So my food journey kind of started 9 years ago when I had cancer. And so after I went through the healing of that, I was tested for food allergies and found out like I was allergic to everything. So I had to completely change my diet. And in doing that, of course, then you start educating yourself on foods and what's in them, where do you get them, all these kinds of things. So that kind of started me thinking about it. And then fast forward now to now, and when I first heard this presentation, it just made complete sense because, first of all, I do not eat that many vegetables and probably never will. I think maybe I eat one a day, maybe two if I really shove it in my face. But so that was one thing that really struck me. And just the fact of all of these things are just foods and whole nutrition. And I love that this is what God intended for our bodies to have from the beginning, which has now been twisted by all these processed things that are in the world. So that sold me on it. I'm just looking over my notes here. And another thing was I wanted help for myself, but also for specifically my daughter, which is one of the stories I wanted to share. My middle daughter has had a lot of digestive issues, and she has been on, or was on Miralax, I can say was now, for about 5 years. She could not go to the bathroom by herself. She needed help. And as soon as we stopped like laxatives, Miralax, she got backed up. She was backed up. One point we had to go to the hospital and she had a tube down her throat to just flush everything out because it was so bad. So we've seen digestive specialists, we've been to DeVos, and all the while they kept saying, oh, constipation is normal, and, keep filling her with this Miralax stuff. And it just did not sit right with me. So, started her on Juice Plus probably 3-4 weeks ago. And now she does not need Miralax, and she has been able to go regularly every single day. And it just makes me feel so much better that she has her body filled with natural things that is supposed to be for her body. And so yeah, that's been a really amazing thing that has happened so far. One other quick story. My husband gets very frequent sinus infections, and he started taking it about 4 weeks ago or so, maybe 5. And usually he needs an antibiotic, but he took the Juice Plus, and it prevented his sinus infection from going any further. And it was the first time he has not needed an antibiotic, I would say years and years. And then he said like his drainage, which I know is gross, but was acting like he had an antibiotic in his system. So it was just healing him. I've noticed with myself just quicker healing with some things, skin issues and things like that. So, but those 2 stories are kind of the big ones so far that have just been helpful. So yeah, it was just, how can we go wrong with putting nutrition and natural things in our body? That is what God made and designed.
Absolutely. Rebecca, thank you so much for sharing. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe this. Well, I've heard the story about your husband, but your daughter.
I know.
I mean, I tell people because that is what we hear over and over again, but every time I hear it, I'm just amazed. I mean, between the capsules and the shakes, I mean, it's plants, and you get them in your body and they start doing your thing. And right, what is supposed to be working begins working, and you don't need drugs to help do it anymore. So that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Mary, do you want to unmute yourself and just share quickly with us?
Time is fading quick, so I don't want to be long or anything, but yeah, kudos, Becky. I just can't believe I did not know about your daughter either. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Ladies listening, my name is Mary Porter. I'm Pastor Brandt's wife. I don't know all of your sweet faces, but it's a big church, right? So, but I just want to say, if anything, what you're hearing tonight, I've got stories too to share, but in the sake of time, I think what I hope that you hear tonight is that in our modern society, we are maybe not giving ourselves everything that we can to, whether you want to say to honor the temple or just to care for your body. And I'm sure we all have had some kind of ache or pain we've dealt with. That's just part of, the life or the world we live in today. But if you have aches or pains, or you have things that physically are challenging for you, you should talk with Becky, because there really is a powerhouse in what we're presenting. And I'm not one to just jump on a bandwagon. I don't think Becky is either. I think that's why she was so excited to kind of really see and experience the story for some change personally. And for me, it was menopause. I had huge menopause problems. I did nothing else but take Juice Plus. I didn't change anything else. My diet, nothing. And literally within 10 days, all of the symptoms of that went away completely. And I was having, and this is a really fast story on it, but having 5-6 hot flashes a night that were waking me up out of a dead sleep. And I mean, ask Pastor Brandt. He was like, I'm going to have to go sleep in the basement because it's too hot up here. So, it was that weird. Nothing else, no other supplement, no other thing that would change or have any ramification. And when you try something like that and you see the fruit of that, you see that experience in your life, I mean, I was just hooked completely. My entire family takes it. This is our first holiday season with Easter that Brant didn't get sick. He's almost always completely wiped out and sick before Easter or Christmas time. This was the first time he did not get that. And I've seen great stuff in my adolescent, who is not acting like a raving lunatic anymore, but I think that's the omegas really help him. So it's great stuff, amazing stuff. Love to just share more with you guys if you have an interest to hear more about it. It's so worth it. So incredibly worth it. So there's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary, for sharing. So Mary and I go way back. We actually had my second baby and her first baby together in the hospital. Okay, what is it, 15 years ago now? 15 years ago. So when I found out about Juice Plus and started taking it myself a few years ago, I definitely needed to tell Mary about it. And I love her. And there's a reason I love her, because it totally made sense to her right from the beginning. She's like, just, okay, yes, it makes sense. Get me some of this. And it's so great to see a year later the changes that are happening in her family. So I want to share real briefly my own story and how I got involved with this community. So 2 years ago, I had a son who was struggling with asthma, and the type of asthma that didn't happen every day and wasn't exercise induced, which when I was a kid, that was the only kind of asthma I knew about, was when kids went out to run and they couldn't breathe. But my son had asthma that came out of nowhere, and it would only happen like every 6 months, and we could figure out it was brought on by a season, maybe the season's changing, and or a cold that would go to his chest. But he was ending up in the hospital, and the last time it was in the pediatric intensive care unit, which, you know, is not small potatoes, right? So I am really, like I said, a health junkie. I'm doing my research. I tend to love Western medicine for prevention. I tend to love Western medicine for like acute, but not for prevention, right? And so they're saying, you need to take asthma, steroids, all that sort of thing. And we need you to start doing that daily. I'm like, daily? But this is only happening every 6 months. I don't think that this is a great idea, but I have four prescriptions, and this is what they're telling me to do. Well, I also have a friend that at the same time is talking to me about Juice Plus. And I kind of turned my nose up at first because I thought I would have known about this if it was any good. But here's the reality. I hadn't heard about it yet. Only 2% of people are taking Juice Plus in the country. And yet it is growing like wildfire. And I think that's because people are finally starting to wake up and say, we want something more than symptom managers. We want something more than Miralax that's going to manage our symptoms while at the same time allowing our body to just continue on its course of sickness. Because here's the reality. Our bodies are going one way or the other. They're walking more towards health or they're walking more towards disease. You can't just remain neutral, okay? There's no Switzerland when it comes to health. So I thought, well, what the heck? Actually, Juice Plus will sponsor my child for free to take Juice Plus for free if an adult is taking it. So a wonderful woman who I never met sponsored my son Elijah. And we started giving him fruits and vegetables every day. Meanwhile, I put those prescriptions in my cupboard and I thought, I've got them if we get into trouble. But I'm here to tell you that 2 days ago marks 2 years since my son has had an asthma attack. 2 years since my son has been in the hospital. My son has a cold right now and he's coughing, but it's not going to asthma. And that's because we started flooding his body with fruits and vegetables every day, then gave him those antioxidants to help his body do what it needed to do, which was to heal. I could tell you that my husband's chronic sinus infections of 15 years have disappeared. I can tell you that a 30-year-long fight with anemia is gone for me. But what I could tell you all that, and I would if I had time, but the reality is these are just changes that our body wanted to make. It's just I finally gave it every day the nutrients it needed to be able to do it. So I love Juice Plus. I get so excited to share it because I feel like it is just something easy, something simple that you can do to take health back and to be proactive about your health. So that's what I've got. And so I just want to leave you with one of three things, or maybe more than. Hopefully we've inspired you to go buy more fruits and vegetables. And hopefully you do it at your farmer's market where they'll be vine ripened. Number two, if any of this interested you, contact Rebecca. She's got more information on what it means to get started. It's really simple and you can sponsor a child. Or number three, maybe you're thinking about somebody who needs to know more about this. And if that's the case, connect them to us. We'd love to help. So thank you guys all for being here. Thank you so much. If you want to unmute yourself, I think the call is going to end here pretty quickly, but you can unmute yourself and say hello or goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
you may have
Rebecca
to,
will follow up with you, okay?